Gila Monster, 6x7 herd bull. Got him up here, about 200 or 300 yards up in the saddle. And I came in this morning about 5:45. It wasn't as dark as could be. I heard a big bull bugling below me. I figured he was making his way up the ridge, so I humped it up the ridge as fast as I could. My trusty sneaky feet John let me borrow. Got into this nice burn, and it's just starting to be where you could see. And I was set up good, and they were coming across this burn. And I don't know how big the herd was, but there were 2 bulls and about 7 cows. A little bit I know there's about 10 behind them. And you know, they were coming they were going to cross below me about 20 yards. The wind swirled, and Spike and a cow that was in front stopped, kind of got anxious, turned around, took the herd. They didn't run, they just kind of walked. The rest of the herd followed, and there was 2 other 6 points and then this big guy in there. And they were bugling back and forth and just leisurely went up over the ridge on the other side. So I figured they would try to come back to where they wanted to go through the next saddle. So I hoofed it up the ridge. I could hear them bugling below me, probably 100 yards down the ridge. Hoofed it up. I could hear them coming up to the next saddle. In fact, the place we call New Mexico Ridge, I call it Stumble Butte because John and I came up there last year, and he unfortunately fell down a couple times on the way out. And then cow came up, and I had a nice shooting lane, so I just stopped. She didn't look at me. And a nice 6 point, probably a 310 bull, came, stopped, looked at me for a while, and the rest of the herd was coming up, and he was just trying to check me out. The other cow had just ridged out, and so he figured I must be okay, and so he kept following that cow. And then a string of like 12 cows came, cows and calves, just bang, bang, bang. I could hear the herd bull coming up behind him, and there were a couple of smaller satellite bulls behind him, and a few more cows. And there was this nice big dead pine tree that I showed it in the previous video. He got his head behind that where he couldn't see me. I drew back. He stepped out. I thought he was about 30 yards. I hit him dead center in the body, probably a little far back. I think I got his liver pretty good. We'll find out when I cut him open, but boy, the arrow was covered in blood. Little foam here and there, so I thought I got maybe the back of the lung. I was nervous there for a while. I waited at least an hour and then started looking really slowly for blood. Didn't find a lot. I found some where I hit him, and then maybe a drop or 2 close nearby, and then wow, there's like a 100-yard period where I couldn't find any. And then I just started following tracks that I could find, and there were a few tracks coming down, and I couldn't really tell which one are his. I thought they were going to be easier to follow because he'd probably be busting a move and leaving big prints, and it wasn't so much. Then I got lucky and I found some foamy blood on a twig, and then on a rock, and then I found some against the side of a tree on some oak leaves, and then I knew I was in business. Followed it slowly. He serpentined down the hill a little bit, and then I could see him, and here he is. And he's a fine trophy. You know, we're a good ways back here. We're going to get the horses and get back here, which will make this nice. We're only about a mile away from the 4-wheeler, boy, but it's ugly up and down. I don't want to be carrying 100 pounds of meat in my back up and down this hill. So take some pictures here, and then we'll get cutting on him, and hopefully I can find John. John's over in Wegas Park, and boy, there's just bulls going crazy today, so he might have got lucky as well. So we'll get after it now. The real work begins. It's all been fun up to now. I'll give kind of a recap of the whole hunt in another time. But, happy today. This is a fine prize. Biggest bull I've ever killed. Doesn't matter if it's a bow or a gun. It's the biggest bull I've ever killed. So. going to be a good return trip home. So, signing off. Thank you, Lord.